Good day, you absolute legends. Well, you voted for it, so here's the video. So welcome, you unhinged space weirdos, to a video so savage it'll shred your sanity and hawk it for scraps on the internet. Today we're gonna toss No Man's Sky and Space Engineers into a dumpster fire to see which one crawls out less pathetic. These games are like two feral cousins fighting over the last crumbs of a mouldy sandwich. One's got flair and the other's got a wrench and a chip on its shoulder the size of a black hole. Now, I've got 5 reasons why No Man's Sky absolutely crushes Space Engineers into a pile of digital misery. And trust me, they're sharper than a rusty nail through a tire. So first up, No Man's Sky has visuals that don't make you want to claw your eyeballs out and chuck them at a brick wall just to feel something. This game's a psychotic blast of colour. You got planets dripping with blood red lunacy, skies that look like a sunset, and then it had a meltdown with a glow stick factory. And trees so vivid, they'd make a forest fire jealous enough to sue for copyright. Every frame's a postcard from a galaxy that's lost its marbles. Like a mad artist decided beige deserves a swift kick to the curb. You're not playing the game, you're stumbling into a fever dream where boring's a death sentence. Then there's Space Engineers. Serving up a visual disaster so bleak it's like staring at a parking lot after a nuke dropped. Grey asteroids, grey ships, grey everything. It's a monochrome snooze fest that makes a landfill look like a theme park. Space Engineers is so visually lifeless, it's like it was designed by a squad of joyless robots who think pretty is a shade of grey you unlock after a lifetime of suffering. You're drifting in a void where the only variety is the flavour of despair, like grey, dark grey, or I've given up grey. Meanwhile, No Man's Sky is a full-on assault to your eyeballs. Purple storms raging like the sky's throwing a tantrum, oceans shimmering like they're flexing on your broke existence, and terrain so wild it's like the universe had a midlife crisis and bought a paint gun. It's not just visuals, it's a slap to your face, daring you to admit that you are just too dull to handle it. Now, before any Space Engineer fanboys comments in the comments section, don't even think about pulling that realism card on me. Realism's awesome if you try to simulate a DMV line or a power outage, not a space adventure. Space Engineer looks like it was built for the type of people who think it's fun staring at a brick wall until the brains leak out. Now, No Man's Sky is a visual riot that will make a rainbow puke with envy and demand a refund. Now, comparing these games is like putting a fireworks display against a soggy cardboard box and asking which one's got pizza. Spoiler, the soggy box loses and it's crying in a ditch somewhere. Number 2. Combat that doesn't make you want to smash your controller into your face just to escape the agony. Or refund the game entirely and then send a note to the devs saying, "You broke me." No Man's Sky turns fights into a glorious mess. You've got pirates roaring in with lasers blazing like they're auditioning for a disaster movie, drones buzzing like they're hornets on a sugar high, and you're dodging it all like a maniac with a grudge. It's not perfect, and the AI is dumber than a bag of wet socks, but it's fast, it's loud, and it's got enough juice to make your heart pound like a jackhammer on a condemned building. You're blasting rocks into dust, weaving through beams like you're the star of Top Gun. Total mayhem. And when it's over, you feel like a legend. Or at least a jerk with a good story. Then there's Space Engineer, where combat's a slow motion train wreck so miserable it's like watching paint dry on a sinking ship. You spend hours bolting turrets together, tweaking angles like a deranged nerd, only to watch it spin like a broken fan and shred your own ship apart because the automatic targeting's got the brains of a squash bug. Space Engineer's combat is a crash course in self-loathing. You're crunching numbers, trajectories, power grids, ammo, like you're prepping for a math test from hell. And even then, your ship's more likely to cartwheel into a rock than hit the enemy. It's less space battle and more space meltdown. You're screaming as your frame rate drops faster than a drunk on a skateboard. And your precious rig turns into a flaming junk heap. No Man's Sky keeps it raw and reckless. Point, shoot, win, done. You're not fighting a physics engine that hates your guts. You are living a sci-fi fantasy where every explosion's a high five to your ego. Pirates charge like they're begging to be scrapped, and you send them packing like a bouncer at a dive bar. And you want to know what the real kicker is? Space Engineer fans will be like, "But I built it myself," like that makes up for the pain. Sure, you built a war machine, well, congrats. It's still uglier than a landfill and flies like a brick with a dream. No Man's Sky doesn't make you grovel for fun. It hands you a blaster and says, "Go nuts, you lunatic." It's a roller coaster versus a root canal. One's a blast and the other's a reason to ghost your friends. Space Engineers combat is a disaster you can't unsee, where No Man's Skies is a fireworks show where you're holding the matches. Number 3. Creatures that don't leave you mumbling to yourself like a lunatic one bad day away from a straitjacket. No Man's is a circus of freaks. You've got crab monsters that snarl at you like they're plotting your downfall, floating jellyfish with more eyes than a conspiracy theorist pinball would, and hulking beasts that would trash your ship just to prove a point. These aren't props. They've got attitude, swagger, and a vibe that says, mess with me and you'll regret it. You're not alone in this galaxy. You're surrounded by a zoo of weirdos that make every landing feel like a twisted reality TV show. Space Engineers, however, is a desolate dump where the only life is, well, you. Staring into the dark and realizing you're the punchline of a bad joke. No critters, no aliens, just a silence so thick it's like the universe blocked your number. Space Engineers is so dead. It's like the devs looked at life and said, nah, let's make it a ghost town. You're the last idiot at a party nobody RSVP'd to. Building ships to impress a void that doesn't care. Whilst No Man's Sky is a parade of nightmares, every creature is a loose cannon. From Scotland terrors that chase you for laughs, to giant freaks that stir through you like they know your browser history. You can scan them, you can name them, or run screaming as they charge like a pack of drunk rhinos. It's chaos, it's alive, and it's a big fat middle finger to Space Engineers' empty trash heap. Number 4, progression that doesn't feel like you're pledging your soul to a gang of sadists who laugh at your pain. No Man's Sky keeps it slick and brutal. Mine some shiny junk, slap together upgrades, and bam, you're rocking a jetpack that'll make a sci-fi dictator jealous enough to start a war. It's a straight shot from nothing to Kingpin. No PhD in suffering required. Just pure, unfiltered power that makes you feel like you are chewing through the galaxy's backbone. You're not drowning in garbage, you're riding it like a maniac on a rampage, unlocking toys like a kid smashing open a vault of chaos. Space Engineers, however, is a torture pit where every single step is a test on how much you despise yourself. If you want a better ship, then you gotta learn how to wire a power grid, balance thrust like a deranged accountant, and pray that your base doesn't get found on PvP because you haven't changed the base colour from white. Now, Space Engineers' progression as well is a gauntlet built by a psycho who thinks fun is watching you fail miserably. You're grinding for days to make a door that doesn't jam, only to realize you need a whole new setup just to flip the lights on, or keep the walls standing up. Every upgrade's a riddle wrapped in a headache, and half the time you're rebuilding what broke because the physics engine is a jerk with a vendetta. No Man's Sky doesn't pull that nonsense. It respects your time, handing you rewards like a shady guy slipping you a wad of cash. You're not earning progress, you're stealing it, strutting through the galaxy like a warlord on a bender. And no doubt the Space Engineer fans out there will flood to the comments and say, but the challenge is the point. Well, I'll say to you, you can shove it. Challenge is great if you're climbing a mountain or dodging a lawsuit, not gaming. Space Engineers is a masochist dream. A game that kicks you in the gut for showing up. No Man's Sky is a power trip that doesn't make you beg. It's a victory lap versus a crawl through the mud. One lifts you up, the other buries you alive and giggles. Guess which one is worth your time? Now, number 5. Community goals that don't leave you rotting in a pile of your own misery. No Man's Sky hurls you into a galactic madhouse, players teaming up to build hubs, hunt junk, or flex bases like they're auditioning for a reality show about psychos. It's a deranged mess where you're part of something bigger. Even if half of the lunatics are there just to ruin your screenshot with a glowing middle finger, events explode like a riot in a junkyard, and you're in the thick of it, pitching in or watching the chaos like a car crash you can't stop cheering for. Space Engineers, however, you're either alone on a private server, drowning in your own stupidity, or stuck on a public one where some creep named XX_grieffreak_XX is turning your hard work into a twisted pile of junk because he's a soulless troll who lives for your pain. And Space Engineers is a lonely void where the only company is the voices in your head telling you to quit. Public servers are a nightmare, griefers with drills and zero humanity, turning your hours of effort into a smoking heap while you rage quit into oblivion. Private servers are no different really, other than it's just you and the silence, building shrines your own dumb choices, like a madman in a ghost town. No Man's Sky doesn't do that. It's a shared circus where the galaxy's buzzing with players who give a crap. You're not just scrapping by yourself, you're thriving. You're part of a twisted mob that's half genius, half disaster. It's a rock concert versus a funeral where you're the only guest. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen, 5 reasons No Man's Sky smashes Space Engineers into a heap of digital junk. Visuals that don't suck, combat that doesn't hate you, creatures with a pulse, progression that doesn't love your existence, and a community that's not a total train wreck. Space Engineers has its fans, probably the weirdos who love tax season or building IKEA furniture in the dark. But No Man's Sky is the champ here. If you disagree, yell at me in the comments. I'll rush you so hard, you'll need a new zip code. Smash that like button if I made you smirk, subscribe if you've got the guts, and hit that bell so you don't miss me trashing on more games. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much for watching, and as always, my name is Professor Cynical, and I'll catch you all again in the next one. Bye for now.